I'm here now with Dixie Hibbs, a local historian for Bardstown and Nelson County, and we're going to be talking about the Anatok Preservation Fund. Anatok is a historic building here in Bardstown, correct?
Right, right. Anatok was built by Charles Hayden in 1847. He was a Catholic merchant here in Bardstown. He built the house for his family, and his family included servants, African-American slaves, who Mrs. Rudd would have 12 children, and of those 12 children, Daniel, one of her sons, born a slave on this plantation to this family, became very famous in the Black Catholic history. A lot of local people don't realize how important he was to the civil rights movement in the 1870s and 80s. But at this point, you know, we kind of take our local contributors for granted. We take the people who have come from our community and gone out in the world and done things, and we just kind of expect them to happen. But just lately, people have really started being aware that Daniel Rudd, born a slave, emancipated in 1863, educated by Jesuits in religion, and went on to be a Catholic journalist, had his own newspaper, did lots of work in creating the Black Catholic Congress. So he, again, was one person who made quite a difference, and that person coming from slavery to where he was working for freedom for all men is important to realize today in our area. Well, the house is solid brick, very good construction, was used as a private residence until 1929. In 1929, the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth would buy it and use it as a convent from 1929 to the late 1960s. The house had been renovated in 1900, and when you look at the pictures and you see this beautiful porch on it, just fabulous porch, that was put on in 1900. Before, it had a much simpler porch. But when Mr. Druin purchased it in 1900, he wanted to cut a wide swath through Bardstown. He brought his wife and 2 daughters and his Russian wolfhounds and his show horses and came here and kind of stirred up the social life. But he had a beautiful house. He gave beautiful parties and things, and a lot of people remembered that. So when the nuns had the opportunity to purchase it, a lot of the local people put up money so they could buy enough land around them so they'd have a big yard, a big area. And so it was a combination of Sisters of Charity money and the community's money to make this estate there for the sisters. Oh. Sisters that educated students at Bethlehem Academy taught there, and also the sisters who were nurses at Flagey Hospital after 1951 would live in this house.
Okay, so it was a convent.
It was a convent, that's right. In 1971 to 1988, my family and I lived there. We leased it,
really?
Moved in, renovated it, and there's still wallpaper and things I did in the 1970s still in there today. And that's one reason my heart's so interested in preserving this house. This house is in danger of demolition because it is now owned by the Archdiocese of Louisville and Bethlehem High School. And Bethlehem High School did not determine any use for it, even though we've been talking for 2 years, and finally determined if we could raise some serious money. I love that term, serious money. But if we could raise some serious money that could be put into renovating the building, which is really repairing the building. The majority of it has minimal renovation you need. You need to do some repairs, you need to put some more bathrooms in if you're going to use it for students, and then it can be utilized as art studios, music, other classroom activities. It has a lot of space. These rooms are 18 by 18 with a center hall and would work really well. A brick building doesn't fall down. It takes years, decades before a brick building falls down. So in this case, this house is not going to fall down. It's going to have to be torn down. And we think the money and effort that would go toward tearing it down should go toward keeping it up. And that's why we are actually asking the public, those who feel strongly in preservation and in reusing things. Don't throw it out because it's old. If it still has use, let's fix it and go on with it. To pledge or donate and or pledge money to the Anatok Preservation Fund. This fund just started about 3 weeks ago. We have till the end of April to have pledges and money donated to show that there is local support. That people in this community, whether it's a $5 donation or a $500 or a $5,000 donation, people here value the heritage that they have, the buildings, the physical heritage we have. the most beautiful small town in America doesn't need to be tearing down an 1847 building. Now, the people who don't appreciate old buildings, I respect them. I don't understand them, but I respect them. Excuse me. But those of us who have put their labor and their money and their, one of the local citizens told me once, you put your money where your mouth is, and I believe in that. If you're going to stand up for something and feel strong about it, you need to financially support it too. Of course, a lot of my support has been in hands-on labor and will still be that way. But the building is one of the few buildings still associated, not only still, the only building still associated with Daniel Rudd. When you have black leaders from the last 100 years, 150 years, most of their buildings, most of their homes and all are gone. No one thought to save them. Often they weren't even of a value. They were so insignificant or so rough that there wasn't a reason to save them. But here's an opportunity to save the building, and one of the plans is to have a room or an area dedicated to research and information about Daniel Rudd and others in the civil rights movement that really made a difference. We have Alexander Walters, Dr. Alexander Walters, who was a Methodist minister here, and he went on to be a bishop in the Black Methodist Church and a leader in the NAACP. So the community has a very good basis for African American history. And again, we just take it for granted. I think all of us realize that there's a lot more to history here than we know. And as we discuss preservation, the reuse of things, we have to understand that they built them better then. The little building beside this, are some classrooms and a office building that's right beside this house. It was built about 1988, and it won't last near as long as this building that was built in 1847. If we were to compare the two of them, the cost of them or the way they were built, the younger building will disappear much quicker than this old one. And I think when you stop and look at that, don't just because it doesn't have marble granite granite countertops or something, or walk-in closets and all those things we seem to want here in new buildings, that it's insignificant, it's not important. It has original poplar floors. It does have a lot of work that needs to be done on it, but you can use that work as a learning situation too, where people can watch how you go back in there and you replace window panes and you fix the wooden floors and you do these things. There's a lot of ways that this can continue to educate and even train workers like that. On the donations, going there. Our donations, we would like for you to send a check or a pledge to Anatok Preservation Fund. The treasurer is John Traeger. The address is 8865 Louisville Road, Cox's Creek, Kentucky, 4013. Now, if you want me to send a form to you, please call me at 507-0808 and we will mail you a form. You don't have to have the form to contribute. We do have to have your name and address, because if we are unable to make this project happen, if we cannot get everybody together on the same page, we will refund you every penny you send us. We aren't using any of the donations for any of the printing or administration of this. Any donation that we're not able to use on this project, we will turn right around and send it back to you. So it's something, again, the money will not go anywhere else except the renovation of the historic mansion Anatok in Bardstown, Kentucky.
So again, that's the Anatok Preservation Fund, and send it to John Traeger, 8865 Louisville Road, Cox's Creek, Kentucky, 40013, or give Ms. Hibbs a call here if you have some questions about it.
507-0808.
And the deadline is the end of April.
We would like to have as much in as we could by the end of April, and at that point we will know how much money we have, and if we have to raise more money we will continue, but we've got to have a big push right now. You may see something about it in some of the newspapers in Louisville, in Lexington. You may see something on the internet about it. It's all the same project. In our case, this is our local effort. For the people who wanted to help save this house, this is the opportunity. whether it's $5, $15, $25, whatever amount. The amount is important, but the main thing that's important is the fact that someone wants this saved, and they show it to us by their donation.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you, Gary.
And I'm talking with Dixie Hibbs, a local historian here for Bardstown and Nelson County, about the Anatok Preservation Fund.